Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. So welcome aboard. Tonight is May 19th, 2020. It is a Tuesday night. And of course, this is episode 488 of The Daily Dope. If this is your first time joining me, just keep in mind this is very, very casual. This is certainly not rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Just hanging out, talking about tabletop gaming news. For the most part, every once in a while we'll talk a little PC gaming and some pop culture. But all in all, it's pretty much just tabletop gaming around here. But do want to point out, if you do like the video, by all means, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you do subscribe, be sure to ring that little notification bell because it will inform you not only of when the Daily Dope streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube, it'll also tell you when I upload standalone videos as well. So we've got a show kicked off finally. I'll explain what's going on in just a few moments. But do want to also mention that this is a live stream. So if you are watching on YouTube, by all means, feel free, say howdy. Or if you've got a question or a comment, fire away. I do my best to pay attention to chat. So I do want to point out it's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But like I said, I do my best to try to follow the chat. So if you got anything you want to toss into the ring, by all means, please do. So far we have the Madman, Kabuki Kid, Dan from No Enemies here, and William McGinnis in chat so far. So late start tonight. Hopefully the audio is good. Hopefully it's all in sync, things like that. So a bit of a late start tonight because I got all the audio equipment in. So that's what I was just setting up. I got it kind of last minute. And I thought it was funny because it came from Amazon, and on Amazon, it's like delivered to the recipient or handed to the recipient. And it's like all sitting out there outside the front door. I'm like, so I guess the front door is the recipient. Okay. So I had everything set up, and for some strange reason, my one capture device has been giving me a hard time as far as with the Panasonic. And I'm like, what the hell's going on with this thing? I have not had it that long, and I'm hoping it's not crapping out. The camera's fine because I'm using a different capture device with this right now. So everything's fine with that. And I'm like, so I had to keep messing around. And then finally I said, you know what, forget it. I'll just swap out the capture devices, mess around, things like that. So, but I do have the new audio equipment in. So hopefully this sounds pretty good. There's not much I can do about my voice, especially, I'm going to say, I've got like a little frog in my throat right now. There you go. And the little frog was thirsty. So now the little frog's fine. Anyway, so first item that we will talk about tonight before I jump into some of the other news. Gen Con got canceled. Got canceled first thing this morning. Well, I guess I won't say first thing this morning. I got the notification from Stasia Kirby, who handles, all the press and stuff like that. Gosh, I want to say, I think it was about maybe 10:30 or so. So yes, Gen Con has been canceled for 2020. And I saw that coming. Everybody saw that coming a mile away. I was very surprised it took them that long to actually go public with a cancellation. Although I am still kind of curious what's going to go on with the force du jour because the act of God clause, because as far as I understand, the governor or mayor of Indianapolis or the governor of Indiana have not said that they couldn't go through with Gen Con, but figured, well, it is going to be is what it's going to be. Kabuki Kid mentions Spiel has been canceled as well. Yes, we talked about that yesterday on the show. We kind of opened up with that discussion. So, yeah, I got to be honest, I don't see the Origins, rescheduled Origins, taking place in October. I really don't. Not when Spiel canceled. I don't know. I don't see it. It's possible because it is Ohio. Ohio is different than Illinois politically. So I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think so, though. I think we are done with any kind of big convention for any sort of thing for at least the rest of the year, maybe even next year. Who knows? I keep hearing stories about the coronavirus is going to be COVID-19, I should say, because there's all different coronaviruses. COVID-19 is here to stay, and we're not going to see it just go away like some other viruses have in the past. I don't know. I hope that's not the case. Fingers crossed on that one. But you never know. This all could be the new normal. Don't know. So William McGinnis says, wow, I may have been to one of the last Granite State Game Summits in March. Dan from No Enemies here says Christmas is probably going to be canceled. Only your Christmas, Dan. Only yours. So, yeah, with all the crowds, concerts, everything all canceled, especially, as Kabuki Kid points out, some of these people just aren't taking this seriously. I do. That's all I can tell you. I take this seriously. I can't help it if other people don't. I mean, I just think they're fools. But, I was young too. I was young once. I thought I was invincible. But then again, I am not an elderly man who is like yelling at people to get off their lawns and basically just gives a shit about like my retirement money. And, everybody else is like, glomming onto the state. They're all hanging on the government teat. No. So the Madman says that he's expecting Halloween to change. I would think so. I mean, yeah. I've seen, it's funny though, the past few years, I have seen more and more people just kind of putting out bowls of candy outside their doors and saying, take one. Kind of like the clerks, you're on your honor just to, take one. So pay and leave your change. So yes, I am kind of bummed to see Gen Con go. I knew it was coming, obviously enough, but it is my favorite convention every single year. Always have a blast. So I'm sorry to see that go. I'm sorry to see all of the conventions canceled so far this year because I have a good time. And it's, the only times of the year that I get to see some of my friends in the industry as well. And especially some are at Origins. Some don't go to Gen Con. Some go to Gen Con. Some don't go to Origins. So anyway. So yes, and the Madman is pointing out that I have seen I think it was a phone video of the setup that the Madman likes to put together for Halloween. It's very impressive, folks. It is very impressive. One other item before I jump into the news, or I guess I'll say the rest of the news. Do want to congratulate my niece, Madison McAleer. She is graduating from 8th grade tonight. I guess remotely or something. It's supposed to be, I guess it's taking place right now, but it's not live. The kids aren't actually there. They're not walking across a stage or anything like that. Otherwise, I would feel bad for missing it. I probably wouldn't be missing it. But as far as I know, it's just some talking heads from some teachers who are congratulating the kids or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, it's not my teachers. So what do I care? But I do want to congratulate Madison. Way to go, Maddie. And on to high school. I think they do high school. I'm pretty sure it's high school. Or maybe I don't think it's middle school. I don't know. I have no idea. And the Madman is congratulating Madison. Thank you, Mr. Madman. Hey, Flaming Herons popped in. Good to see you. It says stealth notification about the show starting. Yeah, it was a late start. Had some technical difficulties, but everything should be set up now. All my equipment I've got it all. There's not going to be anything else. There's no way I'm going to be doing anything else. But I still have that boom coming in for the microphone, which should be here Saturday, fingers crossed. It's only going to take, 20 some days to receive a lousy mic stand. And Glenn Darren's popping into chat. Good to see you, Glenn. So without further ado, let's jump on into the news. Okay, that transition sucked. It was like, yeah, nice animated transition there. Yeah, I actually should probably one of these days upgrade my desktop. Don't know if I want to have to do that. Yeah, I guess that's probably the only thing that's left. All right. Anyway, Rio Grande Games is reprinting an 18xx title from Winsome Games. I've got the dope on Trans-Siberian Railroad. In the late 19th century, the Russian government commissioned a project to build a railroad that would connect Moscow in the west with Vladivostok in the east. You and your fellow players are buying shares of the railroads that will expand across Russia, attempting to enrich yourselves along the way and not lose control of railroads to the Tsar. Trans-Siberian Railroad, originally one of 3 titles in Winsome Games' 2015 Essen set, shares some similarities with older Winsome titles in which the rail network is already printed on the board and individual railroad companies purchase the links that are printed. 4 companies, red, blue, green, and yellow, it's kind of boring names for the companies, huh? Are active at the start of the game with 1 share of each company auctioned to the players in that order to provide starting capital for those companies. The winner of each auction chooses an unoccupied link from Moscow to another city. Each link has a value listed in it, and the railroad's initial income is set to this value. When the game ends, players sum the value of their stocks they hold in public railroads with any money they have on hand. The player with the most money wins, just like in life. No, not really. Trans-Siberian Railroad is for 3 to 5 players, plays in 45 to 90 minutes, and will carry an MSRP of $39.99 when it arrives soon. Don't know what that means. I just know it's soon. And yes, Dan is correct. It is Tom Russell of Hollandspiel, who is the designer of Trans-Siberian Railroad. Oh, Pinky's down here. Oh, come on, Pinky. You just came down complaining, and now I stopped so everybody can hear you. And now you're quiet? Yada. Crazy cat. But I thought I'd kind of throw Rio Grande a bone, seeing that their big convention is Origins, and I don't know if we're gonna see that either. So I think this looks kind of interesting. I've only seen some pictures of the Essen release, which looks like it came in like a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag. So I thought, well, I'm not going to show a picture of that. It's not going to incent anybody to check this game out. But by all means, I like railroad games. I'm not a huge 18xx fanatic, but I get a kick out of railroad games. I dig them. I think they're pretty cool. I tend to be more drawn to railroad games where you're actually building the lines. You're doing kind of like maybe pickup and delivery, as opposed to all the stock market aspects of some of these 18xx games. Although there have been a few that I thought were pretty cool. Moving right along, there is a new Kickstarter that was launched from Starling Games today. It's already funded. I've got the dope on A War of Whispers 2nd edition, as well as the Dark Alliance expansion. A War of Whispers is a competitive board game for 2 to 4 players. 5 mighty empires are at war for the world, but you are no mighty ruler. Instead, you play a secret society that is betting on the results of this war while pulling strings to rig the results and ensure their bets pay off. A War of Whispers is a game of deep strategy, hidden agendas, and shifting loyalties. You start the game with 5 loyalty tokens, each corresponding to one of the 5 different empires, bet randomly on a loyalty value. Your primary goal is to ensure that when the game ends, the empires you are most loyal to control the most cities across the globe. Gameplay consists of turns broken down into 4 phases. The Deploy Agents phase. In player order, starting with the first player and proceeding clockwise, each player removes, then deploys agents to Empire Councils, the positions on the board marked Sheriff, Steward, Marshal, and Chancellor. The Empire Turns phase. Each council position on each Empire Council will take an action. If a player has acquired cards, they may play them during this phase. There's a Cleanup phase. Add the turn marker to the next space on the turn tracker. Then each player discards down to the hand limit of 5 cards. And the Swap phase, which is kind of strange. Usually a cleanup phase is the last thing that happens, but not in this game. In the swap phase, in player order, each player may swap 2 of their unrevealed loyalty tokens. If you choose to do so, you must reveal both of these swapped loyalty tokens. They remain revealed for the rest of the game. Gameplay repeats itself in this order 4 times. When the last space on the turn track is filled, the game ends immediately and scoring commences. The player with the most points based off their empire loyalties and the cities they control wins. There is also a new Dark Alliance expansion as well. It adds some new cards, I do believe, to the gameplay. But there is a short Kickstarter video from Starling Games, so let's kick back and give it a peek.
Five mighty empires are at war for the world. Their banners flying boldly, they march towards glory. The ferocity of the bear, the pride of the lion, the endurance of the horse, the reach of the eagle, the power of the elephant. Come the dawn, the world will be remade, and one empire will rule over them all. But it is in the shadows that true power lies. A serpent, a spider, a raven, a rat. This is not a war for the mighty, with battles waged on the open field. This is a war fought by empires unseen. A war of whispers.
A War of Whispers is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and plays in 30 to 60 minutes. As I mentioned, the project has already funded. You can reserve a copy of just the Dark Alliance expansion for a $7 pledge. The standard 2nd edition of the game and the expansion can be had for a $39 pledge, or you can grab the collector's edition and the expansion for a $75 pledge. This project does run through June 4th with expected delivery this December. Cool. This is a 2nd edition. I have never played the 1st edition. I have heard good things about A War of Whispers. To me, it sort of has a little bit of a Game of Thrones sort of vibe. You're really more focused politically, pulling the strings of what's going on, as opposed to necessarily being the leader of these various different empires who are battling it out. So very nice. And I gotta say, the standard edition of the game and the expansion, $39. That's not too shabby. It does look like there is a bit to it, although the image that I am sharing that has actually, I believe that image isn't even in here. There is an image that they show with a lot of kind of components in that, and they were showing like the little like buildings and walls or whatever. I believe that is the collector's edition that has that. I do not believe that is in the standard edition. All right, on to the next news piece. The latest free Dungeons & Dragons download is available from Wizards of the Coast. I've got the dope on Chalimber's Descent. Deep in the marsh of Chalimber lie the ruins of a great wizard's tower. Seer has received intelligence, which she imparts via her emissary Zing, that deep beneath the marsh in the remains of an old tower is knowledge of older magics. This could be just what Parnost needs to resist the onslaught of Bad Fruel and his armies. This is a 2-hour adventure for first to fourth level characters. The 29-page PDF is free to download from Dungeon Masters Guild through May 27th. I thought this was interesting because this is the first time during the whole stay-at-home, play-at-home initiative from Wizards of the Coast that they have released an Adventurers League adventure that actually follows up on the previous release. So on Friday, that release was, I want to say, beneath the fetid Schellenber. Yeah, I think that was what it was called, if I remember right. And then on the Monday release, because remember, we don't get the new freebie until about 8 o'clock my time. So we're about 15 minutes away from seeing what it is. But I thought it was very cool that this is sort of like the second part of that adventure that was on Friday, which you're trying to find some magics to defeat if I remember correctly, it was something like super intelligent hill giant Bad Fruel. Nice. I love all this free stuff that's coming out from Wizards of the Coast. I think it's very, very, very nice of them to do something like this each and every day. Pretty sweet. Speaking of free role-playing game titles, I bet you can barely hear that because, well, I'm sure you can hear Pinky a little bit, but with the new equipment, I actually have some processing that is being done before it hits the computer, as opposed to being the audio processing being done in the computer. So you may not have heard Pinky caterwauling really loud, but I certainly did. Anyway, I was going to say, speaking of cool freebies, Kobold Press is getting on board with free role-playing titles, and they've got a new release this week. It is Prepared, and you can score it for free. Here's the dope. So your players went off on a tangent. A dozen 5th edition one-shot adventures for levels 1 to 15. Never fear, Prepared offers GMs quick solutions to keep the game moving and players entertained while you figure out your next move. Here are short one-shot adventures for every environment, including an alien factory where victims are drained of their essence and transformed into ethereal horrors. I love that. That's pretty cool. As Glenn Tarrant says, free is my favorite price. Fits my budget perfectly. Flaming Heron said, I dropped a pin, didn't you? Yeah. So you did. I guess maybe you didn't hear Pinky. I could see there was a little blip on the monitor. Anyway, Also included an abandoned alchemical lab where one inhuman assistant got left behind. The sky literally falling right in front of the adventurers. Goblins who've built a most unusual fortress in a roadside ditch. A mysterious stone terrace rising up out of the snow with an ancient machine glinting from the topmost level. And much more. Lavishly illustrated with maps by Mishan Cantrell, with prepared designer John Sawatsky, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, has created dozens of 5th edition fantasy scenarios ready to use in any fantasy campaign setting at a variety of PC levels. Never be caught without a plot again. These adventures feature monsters from the core 5th edition monster manual, as well as Kobold Press's Tome of Beasts. This 26-page PDF is free at koboldpress.com. You have to use the promo code SAFER at Home Week 2. All one word. In fact, let me type that out in chat for folks who are watching live. And of course, if you are, as I misspell week, that's great. No, it's two E's, Jeff, 1K. Doe. Anyway, do you want to mention that it is, I think it's $6.99 plus tax. So be sure to use that code. Of course, also want to mention, obviously enough, this news story will be on thegaminggang.com tomorrow with links as well as the promo code right there in front of you. So pretty sweet. This does look pretty cool. This does look pretty interesting. Kind of amazing that it's 26 pages and it's supposed to have dozens of adventures in it. So pretty sweet. So Glenn says, I do hope Wizards of the Coast keeps putting out some free D&D stuff when times go back to normal. Maybe not every day, but at least every week. It really does help get noobs into the hobby. I agree. I certainly agree with that. I don't think we will see that, though. But the reality is there's usually free D&D stuff floating around, especially if you go to DM's Guild. Now, I'm not saying it's all good. In fact, the reality is most of this, a vast majority, I guess, of the stuff on DM's Guild isn't exactly what I would personally run or design the way I would like a game adventure to be designed. But usually have some free stuff. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of the freebies out there once things return to normal. But who knows? Who knows? But I really do think that Wizards of the Coast has done a great job. Really, really impressed to see Kobold Press is now doing that as well. They have some free backdrops, some digital backdrops for people to utilize during their digital sessions on Zoom or WebEx or what have you. So very nice. Very nice. So we've talked about Kobold Press. We've talked about Wizards of the Coast. So I guess why don't we talk about Paizo Inc? Because arriving this October is the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Beginner Box from our friends over at Paizo. Here's the dope. Take the first step into an amazing world of fantasy adventure. The Pathfinder Beginner Box contains everything you need to learn how to play the Pathfinder role-playing game, including rules to create your own fantasy hero and tools to make your own amazing stories. Will you be a courageous fighter, charging headfirst into battle, or a sly rogue, moving quietly to strike at foes from the shadows? Maybe you'll be a knowledgeable wizard, wielding incredible arcane spells, or a wise and pious cleric, using the power of your deity to shape the world for the better. It's all up to you. Inside, you'll find a rich toolbox filled with everything you need to get started, including rules for character generation, an introductory adventure, guidelines to build your own campaign, character sheets, a full color map, character pawns, and dice. This deluxe box set is the ideal introduction to the Pathfinder role-playing game, leading the way to a lifetime of adventure. The Pathfinder Beginner Box includes an 80-page Hero's Handbook, including rules for character generation, a solo adventure, skills, spells, and equipment, a 96-page Game Master's Handbook containing an introductory adventure, over 20 pages of monsters, rules for building your own adventure and magic items, 4 pre-made characters so you can jump right into the action, and 4 blank character sheets if you want to make your own hero. There's also over 100 character and monster pawns to use on the full-color double-sided adventure map, 4 game reference cards to help players remember their actions, and a complete set of polyhedral dice, including a D20, D12, D10, D8, D6, and D4. The Pathfinder 2nd Edition Beginner Box will arrive in October. It's going to carry an MSRP of $39.99. And I got to say, that is a smoking deal. As Dan from No Enemies Here had to rock out. Good to see you, Dan. Thanks for swinging in. And I believe Glowing Turtle is in chat. Good to see you. Thanks for swinging in and hanging out with us. So anyway, I got to say, pretty cool. I do have the Starfinder beginner box. And it had, I want to say it was the same price. It was $39.99. And it is jam-packed with goodies. Going to see the same thing for 2nd edition Pathfinder. And fingers crossed, maybe we'll get a chance to see that. I will have actually my review of the Pathfinder 2nd edition Bestiary 2 this weekend. So that'll be up. But I got to say, the way this starter set is kind of created, it's going to have character creation rules in it, making it a little bit different than a lot of starter sets that are out there. Because there are a lot of role-playing game starter sets that it's like, here are your pre-gens, here's how the game plays, and that's cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do appreciate that. I think it's most of them are very nicely done. But here, you are getting character creation rules. So the reality is, you could play for a long, long time with just what's going to come into this box for $39.99. I try to tell people all the time, one of the best bang for the buck hobbies out there is role-playing games, because all you got to do is buy a core book. And a lot of role-playing games out there, you get the core book and it's got like the monsters or creatures or what have you in it. They're not always, got to buy your core book and your monster manual and your player's handbook or anything like that. A lot of times you can spend $70 on a big, thick book, and that's it. You don't have to spend a dime ever again if you're clever and, kind of imaginative as far as a game master. And Viper Dave has popped into chat. Good to see you, Viper Dave. Final news piece. There is a new Johnstown Compendium release for RuneQuest. Here's a dope on 6 seasons in SARTAR. SARTAR 1619. A group of young people come of age in an isolated mountain clan. They are the first generation born and raised after the lunar conquest and saw their people bleed and die in Kaliar of Keldon's failed rebellion. Yet Kaliar still believes she is the one destined to liberate SARTAR, and fate or luck is about to put these young SARTARites in her path. Inside this book, you'll find 6 seasons in SARTAR, an epic 6-scenario campaign written for RuneQuest, role-playing in Glorantha, but easily adaptable to other systems. Based on the Third Age epic poem of the same name, the campaign plays like a novel with character arcs, plot twists, and themes, but is still completely driven by player choices and group tastes. It includes the riddle and rites of passage, a pair of female and male adulthood initiation rites usable in any Hortling campaign. Episodes, a dozen side quest or mini games usable in this or any other SARTAR campaign. These episodes include rules for cattle raids, courtships, mass battles, initiations, hero quests, weddings, funerals, feasts, and much more. Hero quests, a chapter on running these in RuneQuest. The Starbrow, a version of Kalar of Keldon, I think it's Keldon, ready for use in RuneQuest. This is based on the popular blog series of the same name, 6 seasons in SARTAR, and it's been completely rewritten, revised, and expanded for this book. The 144-page 6 Seasons in SARTAR PDF is available for $19.99 at Drive-Thru RPG. Sweet. One thing that I always think of when I think of RuneQuest is RuneQuest tends to appeal to, maybe I'm wrong, but I've always thought it appealed to a more mature audience, a more mature role player, as opposed to some players who might gravitate towards 5th edition or Pathfinder. But I've always felt that RuneQuest just has a vibe where it's maybe not as accessible to younger players. And this sounds like this could be very cool as a way to introduce younger role players to RuneQuest, because they are playing younger characters. So I thought this sounded pretty interesting. And I have to say, the Johnstown Compendium has some really cool releases for RuneQuest. So there is that. All right, that is it with the news. All righty, boy, those transitions are not working at all. It's like, I just throw them out, just do my fades. Easier anyway. But I was speaking about Drive-Thru RPG. Do keep in mind that the Gaming Gang, thus the Daily Dope, are affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, or maybe even Wargame Vault, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you do make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And it really adds up. It really, really does. There are a lot of people out there who do use the banners over at the Gaming Gang when they make purchases from the One Bookshelf sites. And it really, really helps out a lot. All right, so let's see what we've got. So Kabuki Kid says, I own way too many old D&D books, but truth is you just need the core books. Yeah, really. You really do. That's all you really need. I got to be honest. I'm kind of a completist. At least I was back in the day. I got to be honest. I couldn't imagine if I were purchasing Pathfinder stuff to be going out like every month and shelling out bucks for all the stuff that comes out for Pathfinder. And I'm not just saying what's coming out from Paizo. Think of all the third-party companies that release Pathfinder stuff too. It's like, wow. So Glenn Darren says, that's why I like Call of Cthulhu. Everything you need to play is in the core book and plug and play rules, relatively speaking. Yes, well, I don't know about everything being included in one book anymore. We are going to be taking a peek at this, though. Yes. I've already read through these, so I'm not going to do like a first look page through. I'm going to do a review page through. So that I'm going to get to as soon as I can. Now that everything's all set up, I've got all the equipment in that I wanted outside of the mic boom. I'm going to have way more standalone videos popping out, just so everybody knows. I've been kind of holding off because it's kind of like, do I really want to shoot the videos? And then, the audio is kind of off. Hopefully the audio sounds good tonight and it's in sync. It looked like it was. So let's see. Flaming Heron said, well, somebody needs to own the books. I only had the Player's Handbook physical copy. And I got some from D&D Beyond, says Flaming Heron. Kabuki Kid mentions that they have pretty much everything TSR ever made for AD&D first edition. Most of the B/X stuff too. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty wild. There are some, oh boy, I tell you, because I had a lot of the first edition stuff too. And I take care of my books, and I always have, because I've always been a reader. In fact, when I was maybe, 11, 12 years old, I would love during the summer to just we had an enclosed porch, and I would just kick it on this old couch reading books, and I might go through 2-3 books in a day. And we're not talking like little kid books. I was reading like Stephen King, Peter Straub, stuff like that when I was like 11. Yeah, I wonder why I'm, the way I am. But yes, there's some modules out there that I had, and I'll take a guess, maybe Kabuki Kid owns, that go for some big bucks now. I'm like, and the funny thing is, I don't even know whatever happened to a lot of this stuff. I have no clue. So let's see. So Glenn Darren says, very sexy reveal for the Call of Cthulhu. I was just piggybacking on that. Just piggybacking. So Fleming Heron says, at least the price of everything doesn't go to insane prices the older it gets. Yeah, that's kind of true. Although, the funny thing is, it seems like I'm so glad that I am not trying to get into streaming stuff or shooting video for YouTube now, because all the prices of everything is so jacked up because of COVID-19, and people are like, oh well, I guess I'll turn to doing stuff for YouTube and things like that to pass the time. So all these companies out there are like, oh yeah, yeah, all righty. Yeah, you do that. You do that. That's why I'm sitting there going, that capture device better not be crapping out on me. I'll be like, All right. So, yes, as Kabuki Kid points out, the RPGA modules do go for a lot now. Yeah, they certainly do. One thing I should mention, if you are a fan of role-playing games, you should check out, I want to say it's Dragons and Designers. Sharon Applesein from, I think he's from, RPG Net, if I remember correctly. He did a 4-book series that's kind of the history of role-playing games each decade. And it talks about, it was a total blast from the past for me to read it, because I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that game. Oh, that game sucked. Stuff like that. Very, very interesting. I read the PDFs, and really, really good stuff. Although there was one phrase, I can't off the top of my head recall what it was, that for some strange reason, it was just this go-to phrase that was used over and over and over again. I was like, come on, enough with this. And it's like all through all 4 books. It's like, bust out a thesaurus, man. But the rest of it, really good, really interesting. So, Fleming Heron says, well, I question why people are considering streaming now if you weren't doing it before. Because people don't have anything to do. It's, it's kind of like that. A lot of people, and then, of course, a lot of people are also sitting there saying, hey, well, what I could do is I could, teach whatever. I'm an expert in doing XYZ. Maybe I'll shoot some videos and teach people how to do that kind of stuff. It's not all just because, oh, I'm bored, I got nothing to do kind of thing. But, yeah, a lot of people have started doing that. I mean, it's cool. I think it's fantastic. I don't think it's fantastic that all these companies are like, oh yeah, okay. This used to be $99. Now it's $250. Nothing's changed. It's the same exact thing. It's just supply and demand. And it's like, we got a supply of it, but we're going to demand you pay top dollar. Glenn says, since lockdown started, some folks think that they can become instant YouTube stars with witty and entertaining commentary. Well, that is certainly not me. We know that for a fact. All right, that is it for tonight's news and for tonight's show. As I always like to point out, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you do, don't forget, ring that notification bell, because it'll tell you normally when the Daily Dope streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube. But it'll also let you know when I upload standalone videos, such as, I got a lot of upcoming stuff. Call of Cthulhu. Yes, CFC. All right. Anyway, for those of you who watched live, thank you very much for keeping me company. As always, always appreciate it when people hang out, so I'm not just blabbing away into the camera itself. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. And of course, if you watched after the fact, which I guess before I wrap up, I should mention something that's going on with YouTube that's kind of irritating me. So last night, first off, they dropped the last 2 minutes of the stream, and it was there because the correct runtime was showing in the little thumbnail, but then when you watch the video, the 2 minutes were dropped off. So of course the whole, hey, and there's no like end screen for me to put up recommended videos or anything like that. So first of all, they did that. And I, of course, sent them a message saying, hey, I see that the correct length of the stream should be this, but it's 2 minutes shorter. Could you please fix that? And normally I've had no problem. I think once before they weren't able to do anything. Of course, they don't tell you anything. Well, they just finished rendering it. Boom, that's it. And the 2 minutes are lost. But the other thing that's really kind of driving me nuts, and it has to do with that whole, well, you can't market your videos towards kids, and if you do, you got to say it's for kids, and oh my gosh, and it's like, hey, what happened to people's parents, right? What happened to, parental supervision, right? Why is it I got to police the world for everybody else's kids? Which doesn't matter because my show isn't for fucking kids. See, I dropped the F-bomb, so it's like obviously not for children. But what they're saying to do now is when you upload a video, so this is for uploads, right? So when you upload a video, they're telling you if you're monetizing it, leave it private or unlisted for at least an hour so that they're what artificial learning or whatever can figure out, oh yeah, okay, so is this suitable for children or is this aimed at children, blah, blah, blah. Well, problem is when you're doing a live stream, you don't have that luxury of doing that. So then what's going on now is that for like 12 hours, you can't do anything with the video. I can't add my end screens to it or anything else. I can't monetize it. And thing is, vast majority of people watch this stream within the first 4 or 5 hours, usually at least half of the total viewers watching the first few hours. Well, no monetization anymore on that. So it's kind of like, what the? Yeah. Anyway, anything they can do to make life harder on the little people who are trying to do stuff on YouTube. And trust me, it's not like I make hundreds of dollars a month on YouTube, but I normally would make about $50, which once again gets sunk right back into the website and everything else. But still, now I can see that if this continues like this, I'm going to cut that right in half. So that's going to suck. Anyway, so what can I tell you? It's irritating. I'm not sitting there like, because it's not worth doing that. Anyway, as I mentioned, everybody who watched live, thank you very much. If you watch after the fact, definitely appreciate that as well. Even if you're watching on Memorex, it is highly appreciated. So, of course, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your Tuesday night. Hopefully, this will actually be part of the video at the end of the video tonight. So, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. Of course, I should say, and / Wednesday morning. And yes, I do realize Flaming Heron does not live in Austria, that they live in Australia. I thought it was Europe for some reason. Sorry. But as I say, everybody enjoy your Tuesday night / Wednesday morning. I'll be back tomorrow. And of course, as always, during this pandemic, be smart and stay safe. Oh, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. And of course, if you want to catch up on past episodes of The Daily Dope, check out this playlist. And if you'd like to see what YouTube's recommending you take a peek at from the channel, just give a click right over here. Of course, I'm Jeff McAleer, and once again, thank you very much for watching.